Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. Now, we are on to the second week. So we've had a look at the best DPM tanks of each tier, from tier 4 to tier 10. And now this week, we are going to look at the lowest DPM tanks. Now, first up is tier 4, and sitting at 827 damage per minute, it is the duck tank, the AMX 40, otherwise known as the duck tank. Now, as I previously said in the previous week, it's not all about DPM. You know, you could have high DPM tanks that are not very good. You could also have low DPM tanks that are really, really good. So it's not all about DPM. However, there are some tanks out there that could really do with having just a little bit more DPM, because not all the other stats go its way. So the AMX 40, to be honest, it's not the greatest of tanks. It's slow. The DPM is very low. The reload obviously is quite high for what it is. The penetration isn't the greatest, and to be honest, it's just a boring tank. It really is a boring tank. I figured that out when I went to play it, trying to get this footage. It was like, oh my god, this tank's so freaking boring. Yeah, so I didn't really have too fun playing this tank. But, you know, it's a tier 4 tank. It's a tier 4 tank. What do you expect? There's not that many tier 4 tanks out there that will be that fun. I mean, there is a couple. But the whole reason for tier 4 is not to go and have fun. It's more to do with grinding. You know, not a lot of people play tier 4, not like they did back in the day, where we just absolutely farmed tier 4 to get higher win rate, because tier 4 was the tier to go to. If you wanted win rate, tier 4 was the tier to go to, where you could play the Lux, you know, you could play the Hetzer and have a bit of fun, and plenty of other tanks out there that would just let you keep winning and winning. But yeah, the AMX 40, it isn't one of those tanks. It isn't one of those tanks that you're going to have fun in. It isn't one of those tanks that is just going to get you win after win after win. In fact, there's not too many reasons to play the AMX 40 at all, except for if you like ducks. You know, if you like ducks, then you might play the AMX 40, because after all, it is the duck tank. The turret looks like a duck, so unless you're playing it just because you love ducks, then nobody is really going to play it. Now, the armor profile isn't so bad on the AMX 40, to be honest. Like, obviously, if you're going to come up against tier 5s, you're not really going to get too much bounces, but if you come up against tier 3s, then you might receive quite a bit of bounce blocked shots. But yeah, you can't really rely too much on the armor profile, and not just the DPM, but everything else about the tank, apart from its armor, which is a hit and miss. Aim time, dispersion, those are really, really bad with the tank as well. So not only have you got low DPM, but you've also got to use extra time to aim your shots, because if you're just gonna do shots like this, I mean, we got lucky there, perfect timing to talk about this, but usually that would be a miss. That would be a complete miss. So yeah, apart from the armor profile, really, which only works when you're up against tier 3s, there isn't too much going for the tank, and it's not a tank that I would recommend to go and play. I mean, yeah, 895 damage, wow, it's not a tank to farm damage, that's for sure, and it's definitely not a tank to farm wins. So we're gonna have just one more game, because it is kind of boring, even though we do finish second there, and yeah, it is very freaking boring. So this time we are up against some tier 5s, so this is where you really test the tank, you know, coming up against, yes, there are tanks that really hold its own against lower tier tanks, but you truly get the feel of some tanks when you're up against higher tier tanks. You know, if they can hold its own, if you can penetrate them very easy and you can deal with them, you know, like normal tanks, then you know it's a pretty solid tank or a pretty decent tank. But this, yeah, I mean, the idea of this tank is obviously for players not to look at you, because your DPM, like I said, you're not going to out DPM anything that comes your way. Anything that comes in front of you, you're pretty much going to be beat by DPM. So 800 DPM really isn't a lot. And of course, with the accuracy, the aim time, that bloom there, when you're aiming your shot, you really have to leave it a few more seconds. So you might have reloaded, but then again, you've got to wait more time for that aim to be reduced. So we're going to aim at this Churchill here, and again, we don't aim that long that time. But yeah, even though we aimed, we bounced his turret. It was a silly shot, silly shot. So we do get that nice shot on the SU. Now I do have quite a few tanks around, and again, because of the armor profile, you really do have to be careful. It does have that hatch on top that is easily pennable, but it all depends where the enemies shoot you. If they really don't know how to play, then you will be able to get quite a bit of bounces in this tank. So nice miss from that Electo right there. So we have managed to bounce 320 damage at the moment. Now we are going to go for the HE, but unfortunately we don't manage to clear that guy. I thought I'd be able to clear him with HE, but sadly I was absolutely wrong. So now, I mean, the gun depression, as you can see, isn't the greatest, and I can't even get my gun down to get that Electo. Now he has turned around the corner, so I don't want to, I mean, look at this shot. This is what you get when you just quickly aim and you quickly try to snapshot. That is what happens. Now, I know he's only 10 hit points, and but this late stage in the game, I mean, that shot I could have done with killing him that first shot, but it is what it is. After all, I mean, we're not going to talk about the tank. We're not going to go into too much detail because, as I've said, it is a tier 4 tank, and no one really is going to be playing this tank unless they're grinding for one reason or the other. It starts to get a bit more exciting in the next video. So the next video, tier 5, we are actually going to look at a tank that people will play, and they will play it regularly. So we're just going to finish this game off now. I mean, we've done all right. We've actually bounced quite a lot of damage. For a tier 4 game, we've almost bounced our entire hit points. There we go. So we've just about bounced our entire hit points, and 570 bounce. We're on 530. We're going to get that kill there, so our second kill, and there we go. We have now bounced more shots than our hit points. So you can see, like, the armor can work. The armor profile can work. It all depends on who you're going to come up against. So that is now 820 blocked damage. At this stage in the game, I'm just going to push forward and just look how slow it is. I mean, if the tank was a little bit quicker, then yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind the DPM being as low as it is, because there is nothing really going for. Again, even though we've now bounced 980 damage, it hasn't been too hard to block that damage up against these enemies. So this is the first tank on the list, tier 4, the lowest DPM tank in tier 4. Join me tomorrow where we will have a look at the lowest DPM tank in tier 5. Hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. I'm meadsy69, and I will catch you all soon. Bye bye. With